G'day out there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of How You Going with Jason Owen. And life on the land is what we're talking about. And tonight I'm chatting to a gentleman called Rob Sinnamon. And Rob and his wife have been managing a property in the Clarence Valley for quite some time now, near the place called Barryogle. And Rob and his wife were hit with the devastating bushfires, or the property was hit with the devastating bushfires late last year, early this year. And they estimated to have lost roughly 25,000, 30,000 acres worth of property, and up to about $4 million worth of damage. So I'm going to go and have a chat to Rob now, and he's going to fill us in on what's happened up there, and give everyone a bit of an insight just to how devastating this would have been for Rob and all his workers and family up there. And guys, Rob joins me for a chat now. How are you, buddy?
Great, Jason. Nice to be with you here this afternoon.
Oh, mate, thanks for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure to have you a part of the show and to have a chat to many different farmers on the new program. You know, living on the land, life on the land. It's a hard time in all different directions at the moment for many farmers, mate, isn't it?
Look, there's continued challenges. We've seen drought and fire, and of course we're all experiencing the COVID-19 conditions now too. So there's plenty to the challenges at the current time.
Unbelievable, mate. So you guys are down in the Clarence Valley, is that right?
Yeah. So Ugle Bar Station is located about 100 kilometres northwest of Grafton, on the Clarence River, or about 100 kilometres southwest of Casino, or nearly 100 kilometres southeast of Tenterfield.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. I've been through there on tour and driving around quite a bit. It's a beautiful area there, mate, but no doubt you guys were struck pretty hard with the drought as well, Rob.
Yeah, Jason, that was what compounded the fire situation, is we'd really had 2 years of record drought. We're typically considered a safe environment here with a 46-inch rainfall, but 2019 we only had just over 12 inches. And that was following only 15 inches the previous year. So we had two of the driest years on record, followed each other, and then led into the fire. So it was a recipe that we don't want to see again in a hurry. That's for sure.
Oh, mate, absolutely, and that was just about as big a thing as the drought, mate. Was the fires that went through. You guys, it burnt more than 10,000 hectares. Was that on Ugle Bar Station? Was that on where you are?
Yeah, so I still computed in acres, Jason, but about 32,000 acres we lost out of 35,000 acres over about a 4-month period. But the bulk of it was lost with repeated fire attacks through November, from early November towards the end of November. So that was certainly the peak tough period for us.
Oh, mate, it would have been absolutely bloody terrible, absolutely terrible. Mate, so it hit November last year. Tell us a bit about how it came around, mate. Like, how did you guys get wind the fire was coming, or did it just break out on the property itself? Or?
Well, actually, the first of the fires started back in about the 7th of September on our annual production sale date, actually last year, and some of that fire front hit us the next night on the northern end of the station, but the bulk of the fire didn't occur until early November. So it was sort of burning to the west of us in the ranges for quite some time. We had 4 separate fires ultimately impact us: the Long Gully fire, the Washpilk and Badger fire, the Ewangar fire, and the Mullaboogumar fire. So those 4 all ultimately burnt us out in one way, shape or form. But certainly the Badger fire and the Ewangar fire, they merged together about the 12th of November here around the station complex, and that was sort of probably the peak of the pressure point for us.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And the little place that's near you guys is Barryogle. Was it affected by the fire by any chance?
Yeah, so there's Barryogle and Mullaboogumar are 2 Aboriginal communities that are located in the region, and Barryogle is Ugle Bar back to front, spelt backwards.
That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, Barryogle. Yeah, but on that same day, the 12th of November, that we were severely impacted. The fire swept through us onto Bar Youghal, and the folks there were all relocated to the school, and a number of Rural Fire Service units basically protected the community there at the school while the helicopters and aircraft attempted to save their homes as well. So it was a very stressful time with a lot of pressure for sure.
Oh, mate, and you do take your hat off to those firefighters, mate, and the work that they did through the fires right around the country at that time. It was bloody horrific, wasn't it? And the work that they do, they really put their lives on the front line, Rob.
Absolutely incredible, because just the length of time and the geographical locations that we saw fire on the East Coast last year was just unrelenting, I guess. And yeah, it was. We certainly appreciated all the outside help we got from the 12th of November onwards. That was really appreciated.
Yeah, mate, absolutely, mate. So 32,000 acres that fire burnt on your station there. That is just 32,000 acres.
Yeah. So that we progressively over probably 2-3 weeks prior to that, we were continually saving country. There'd be spot fires, there'd be regions burn. We'd put them out, we'd back burn, we'd put fire breaks in. We did everything we had to do to try and control it. You'd think you had it beat, and then you'd see fire spot up to 10-12 kilometres into unburnt areas. And I guess the variable winds that came from all different directions through that period made it really tough to deal with.
Mate, absolutely. And so, and yourself and your wife Lorraine, you guys pretty much teamed up with a few people and fought the fires on your station there?
Yeah, so the Youghal Bar station's owned by Bayu and Sarah Meyer. We've been the managers here now for about 18 and a half years. We're very privileged to have a fantastic group of people work with us here, about 10 of us are permanent employees. Many of them have been here for extended periods. It's our workplace, but it's our home as well. And we certainly love Youghal Bar Station to bits. And I feel very privileged that I had such a great team of people to back us up and to literally put their lives on the line for nearly a month, actually, that it was every day you didn't know whether you'd have infrastructure left at the end of the day or not. So I pay massive tribute to my team and to our casual employees and contractors that work for us as well. There was about 20 of us that were engaged pretty much doing nothing else for that fire period. So it was a huge effort that I forever will appreciate the efforts of our team.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I bet you had a few cold beers afterwards.
Yeah. No, there was no doubt there was a bit of that drunk afterwards. It was, but it if nothing else, I think it brought the team very much closer together. And I think through adversity, sometimes you find some positives, and certainly I think that the bonds and the friendships that were formed, through people and neighbours through that period are things that we all really will acknowledge forevermore, I think.
Oh, mate, you will. Absolutely, Rob. Mate, I mean, things like this, at the moment, like we've got COVID-19 out and about, we've had the drought, we've had bloody floods, fires, you name it, everything's happening, everywhere at the moment. And it's just crazy to think that of actually what's going on. But mentally, through everything that's happening at the moment, through lockdown and COVID and all that, is a big deal for people. And mental health is such a big topic. How did you guys go mentally with having to go through such an horrific time like that with those fires? Mentally, you'd have been exhausted, physically and mentally, really.
Look, it certainly was. And you probably, when you're going through it, you just go through the motions. You don't even really realise that it's taking an emotional toll psychological toll on you, because you just physically focusing on the job at hand, and that was saving the station and the infrastructure here and protecting the lives of everybody about. So at the time, you don't probably really think about it. You just got in and did what had to be done. But when you reflect afterwards, that's probably when it actually really does hit you, just the enormity of the situation at hand that was at hand. And I think we're all changed forever from those experiences. We probably you certainly value your life, you value those people around you, and the environment you live in. So it's they're all things that will stay with us for a long time, I'm sure, Jason.
Oh, mate, I can imagine. Absolutely, Rob, mate. The Clarence River, it obviously would have come in pretty handy around that time with a bit of water. Did they call in the choppers or anything like that to help?
Yeah. So the Clarence River is probably the lifeblood of the station. We've got about 22 kilometres of the station. River runs through the station. About 18 of that is double frontage. Typically we can irrigate from that, but with decreasing water flows, we'll stop irrigating on the Clarence back in July. So where we had feed reserves and significant irrigation, we weren't able to utilise that. So that was decreasing our fodder supplies. But from a fire perspective, we certainly did use the water. From a helicopter perspective, once those choppers arrived, being able to fill up out of the river quickly was certainly a godsend. And probably without those guys being able to respond and assist and back up our guys, ourselves with our equipment, we would have lost all the infrastructure here at the station, without a doubt.
Oh, mate, for sure. Absolutely. It moves so quick, mate. That's the thing. And like, people don't realise, a fire's a fire, yeah, it burns, but it moves so bloody fast, and the thing is, it's spot fires. That's what was happening out there, was all spot fires, the heat, the sparks, the things like that flying through the air, landing somewhere 15 k's even up the road, and up goes another one, and then all of a sudden,
and that was the challenge. Yeah, no, definitely the challenge. And we saw fire on that afternoon of the 12th, covered nearly 12 kilometres in probably not much more than an hour. And through that period, we lost a number of our high-value stud cattle that were locked in a paddock. That was certainly mothers of bulls we've sold for up to $40,000. So a significant number of high-value cattle were lost. But it got to a point that we had to just fall back and protect the infrastructure around the main station complex, because it was just becoming the enormity of it was that we just had to I guess consolidate our position and save buildings.
Yeah, mate. So that was actually the next thing I was going to ask you was, what was the damage on the property? And I guess it was you did lose some cattle.
Yeah, look, in terms of overall loss, we estimate we lost about $4 million worth of infrastructure, livestock, and cost of feeding. So it was a significant cost to us through that period. Some of that we've been able to recoup with the help of our insurance companies with fencing, but there's been a significant cost to the business, and in terms of buildings, we lost about 108 kilometres of fencing. We lost a set of stockyards. We partially saved an aircraft hangar, but we had the Yugelbar Castle and two other residences were literally on fire at once, so spreading resources and coordinating that, and that was when the helicopters arrived, and that was certainly something that with them and I think it was the Lawrence Rural Fire Brigade that came to our assistance in the end. Those guys were fantastic, and the assistance we got that afternoon certainly helped us a great deal.
Oh, mate, absolutely, absolutely. You just mentioned the Ugalbar Castle, mate. I was just talking to you off air before we started this interview, and you were saying it was built in like the 1860s or something, and you're living in the homestead, which was built earlier, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So Yuga Bar was initially was about 275,000 acres in one of the early selections in northeastern New South Wales, settled by the Ogilvie family, Edward Ogilvie, and he was a tad eccentric, I think, by all accounts, but he built a castle for his wife, and that was finished in 1860. And today, that is still the private homestead for the owners of the station, Bales and Sarah Meyer, and their families when they come to the property.
Yeah, mate. Jesus, and thank goodness that you were able to save, the homestead there and also the castle, because it's history. They're pieces of history, mate. They're probably some of the oldest buildings out there.
Definitely. No, we and that's where I really pay tribute to my team. Is everyone, without question, they just went about doing what had to be done to save that infrastructure.
Yeah.
There was no question. On a number of occasions, I offered my team the option to leave, and they all unanimous in their decisions to stay. It was their home as well, and so it was a really unified front from everybody here at the station to stay and fight and do what we could to save everything.
Oh, mate, I can only imagine. It's a credit to you, and we all take a hat off to everybody that's been affected by these things and that are able to still here to tell the story. That's the big thing. They're able to still be here to tell that story because it's a dangerous bloody thing to be out amongst those flames, mate. Especially people don't realise just how bad these things actually are. And how far the fire spreads, and you got the spot fires. Before you know it, you can't get out because there's fires surrounding your house. And you see many stories like that, Rob. Many stories like that. So, thankfully, it's all something you can talk about. And, I mean, it's still devastating. It's absolutely devastating to think that you've lost, over $4 million when you think about it. I mean, that's a bloody lot of money. And it's devastating, mate. But how many people, have had to deal with these certain losses and that through the drought, the fires? It's just a terrible time for many, isn't it?
Yeah, really tough times, and but what we can be grateful of is that in our own personal situation here was no lives were lost here at Ugalbar. Sadly, there were some people not far away did lose life, but we can count our blessings that we're all still here today.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Mate, how has COVID taken a toll on businesses like yourself on the land? Has it taken any type of toll?
Yeah, most definitely. Probably initially, probably we found it reasonably easy to self-isolate, given that we are some distance from town. But the first Friday in September every year we have an annual production sale, and that's where we sell a significant proportion of our stud cattle for sale annually. And we have buyers fly in from all over Australia for that, travel in for that sale every year, up to 500-600 people. This year, with COVID-19 border restrictions, particularly north to Queensland, where we sell probably 70% of our offering, those people can't currently get to Yugalbar on sale day. So the impact of that to our business is going to be massive, on top of drought and fire. So we're doing everything we can to make it possible for people to compete on our cattle for that sale. We're running 2 online platforms as well as a live physical auction on the day to assist those buyers in being able to bid. But the reality is, if we can't get those borders open for essential services, with agriculture being one of those essential services now, as soon as possible before our sale, the ongoing cost of that to us is going to be significant.
Yeah. Bloody crazy, mate. Absolutely crazy. As I said, if it's not one thing, it's another. It just seems to be storming at the moment. We've got COVID, we've had the floods, we've had bloody bushfires, we've had drought, and unfortunately, it affects the people on the land in every different way, shape, or form. Each one of these things,
Absolutely.
And that's what's heartbreaking about it, mate. Mate, summer's coming up again in the near future. How do you guys think? Are you prepared for another summer? Is it scary to think that, what happened last summer?
Look, I think, every time you see a puff of smoke come up now, everyone probably tends to take notice of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We are fortunate to be fairly well resourced in terms of our own firefighting equipment. We do have graders and bulldozers and tractors and spray rigs, but we did add a fire truck to our equipment sensor-fires to be able to better respond to particular infrastructure fire. But we're looking to the skies at the moment. Today's a very blustery day. We're fortunate though; we've had some rainfall in recent weeks, and that's keeping things remarkably greener than they normally would be for this time of year. So, look, we're hopeful of follow-up rain. We're hopeful of a wetter spring than average, and hopefully some of those pressures will be taken off us. But if not, we'll take it on as it comes. So.
Yeah, good on you, mate. That's bloody great, Rob. Mate, I've got to ask you one thing before we finish up here. As devastating as everything was, through the fires for yourself there, 32,000 acres is a bloody lot of land, mate. And people in the cities and that, it's completely outside of their mind to realise and actually understand just how much land that is, But 32,000 acres is a bloody lot of property to be damaged by fire. And as devastating as it is, mate, and as hard as it is to get a lot of help when it's needed and so forth like that, it must have been heartening to see all Australians band together for the firefight concert that was put on in Sydney at that stadium there. How did that make you feel, mate?
Look, I think that just shows the true Aussie spirit, to be able to respond to fellow Australians in their time of need, and I think every rural Australian, every farmer, every grazier affected took heart in appreciating that our city counterparts did care, and everyone did band together to show some support. So they're things that I think hopefully bring us as a country closer together and help bridge that city-country divide that sometimes is perceived to be there. It's great to have the support of our city cousins.
Absolutely, mate, 100%. And without people banding together throughout all these crazy times, mate, without people working together, teaming up together to make things possible, I think we'd be in a bloody lot of trouble. As you said, you guys there on the station that band together right throughout the fires and just worked together, worked your bums off, mate, to try and save the place. You saved it. Unfortunately, there was a hell of a lot of acres and things like that burnt out, mate. But it can always be worse, Rob. And I think as long as yourselves remember that and know that it can always be worse, there's always a positive side to everything, mate. As negative as it is and as hard as it is, there is always a positive side, buddy.
Absolutely, Jason. We're just so grateful that no one's lives here at Yugoba were lost. We can rebuild infrastructure. We can rebuild the station. We can restock the country. So we're grateful for every blessing we have.
Mate, good on you, Rob. I really appreciate you coming on for a chat, mate. It's an honour to have you on, and thanks for sharing the story with us. And we look forward to catching up for a beer sometime, mate.
Absolutely. You're welcome at Yugoba anytime.
Good on you, mate. Thank you very much, Rob.
Cheers. Have a good day.